what can you say? It's so funny with computers and stuff. We'll see. I guess there is sound now, but then there is no beautiful imagery. I'll see if I can get that going. Video capture. That one is not working. So now I'm audible and I'm visible. I haven't had as much wine as it might seem, actually. But I will see if I can at least, before I throw this computer out of my window, I will at least get it to do slightly as I want it to. So yeah, how could it be so difficult? Well, I can tell you the short story is that I tried to switch to Big Sur on my my computer. Big Sur is the new operating system for the Apple products, and everything seems to be working nicely. The only problem was that it wasn't. So when I connected and I had fixed everything, I was only live on Twitch. Now I think actually I am live on at least YouTube, it seems, right? And possibly on Facebook, but I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, I seem to be on Facebook. Am I on YouTube then? Well, in any case, what I had to do then was to log out of the Apple thingy and into Windows. And in Windows, I haven't prepared anything. So I'm a bit off. But in any case, it's good to see you guys here. And I will now make at least a mission statement. My mission statement is that I will be streaming every Monday 20 to 21 for as long as the world is fucked up. Because that was my basic idea when I started this in March. That I was gonna spend my boredom together with other bored people. I think you guys are the other bored people. So welcome to our shared boredom. I am delighted to see that some of you actually found your way, even though that this was extremely delayed and it won't be anywhere near what I was planning it to be. But now I know that I can only stream with a decent result from my Windows part of my computer. And, well, you can't blame one for trying, but I should have, of course, tried it out earlier. But sometimes you just, assume that things work. But in any case, we started this journey together in March, and it's now almost end of November, and the world is still crazy. And I will delve into what I think to part of this craziness is that people we need to be thinking a bit more, and we need to realize that we cannot spend this time spreading conspiracies and crazy rumors and all the shit that I see. But I'm not gonna delve so deep into what I don't like, what I see on social media and so forth. But it certainly is a lot that I don't like, because it seems like people have started to critically analyze or even pause for a minute to think a little bit before they share stuff. But then again, what can we expect when we have leaders like Trump, who ignores even the basic truths and facts? Because I think the Russian saying is that the fish rots from the head. And if we have leaders who don't give a fuck about, truth or science or anything, it's hard to say that, the rest of us should. But I think it's important that we should. And that is why I think we need to talk more. And we need to spread, somewhat of a decent vibe, because we're all in this shit together. I was speaking to Johan in Tiamat about that, but I mean, for the first time ever in history, almost, we are all aware that we are in the same shared weird times, and what we do in Sweden actually affects Turkey, and what happens in Turkey affects Germany, and what happens in Germany affects Denmark. So all of us in this chat, we're all part of this, the solution to it, because it will be solved. We will get through it. But the Swedish Prime Minister, I am, because I'm the most bored here. Our Prime Minister, Stefan Löfven, who might be, I think he's the leader of the board, or the boring. he is one of the least charismatic speakers in the world, I think. And I'm not a super fan of him, but he did something that in Sweden is very, very rare, that the prime minister is addressing the people. It has happened 4 times. And it happened when we had a crazy person with a laser-sighted gun shooting people, a serial killer. Or at least, yeah, he attempted a lot of atrocities in the beginning of the 90s. Then that was the first time the Prime Minister of Sweden addressed the people. And then it happened when our foreign minister was murdered. And now it has happened twice in the corona. So it's really rare. And he was not pleased with the Swedish people. So he scolded us and said that we need to do better. Because as most of you know, we don't have so strict regulations. So it all boils down to that, each and every one has to, be sensible. And I think most people have been sensible, but they are starting to act less cautious. So now the statistics in Sweden is not looking good. I have a huge spread. But I mean, what he said is very basic, that, we're all dependent on each other, and even those of us who might not get so ill, we can spread it to someone who gets really ill. So I mean, we need to wash our hands, keep the distance, and don't be idiots. He used a little bit different wording, but I mean, it's the same for the rest of the world also. I mean, we all have to just do that, and it's not that fucking hard, is it, to not be insensible to people? It shouldn't be. I mean, stay home, stream, or listen to a stream, whatever. And I am having a glass of wine. And the reason for me having a glass of wine is that I haven't had a glass of beer in this stream for a long, long time. So I celebrate the return of the stream, the very complicated return of the stream, by a little glass of wine. Or it could be soda, whatever. I stopped smoking 35 days ago, so I'm pretty happy about that, but I can say also that it's still a challenge, and it will remain a challenge for a long time, I think. But then, so instead I can have a glass of wine. I don't drink much these days. I did smoke like a motherfucker for many years. I sort of think I kept Marlboro going in Sweden for years and years. It came to a point where I realized, that I can't keep this up, because there is no gracious way of being a smoker like I was when you reach a certain, age, whatever. Thank you. But just as, don't be an idiot, the same goes, if you're not gonna smoke, it's just, it's fucking boring, but it's just a thing you don't have to do. You don't have to smoke, so it's not fun. But it's just a matter of, suffer through it. And it's the same with pandemics, I think. We just need to suffer through it and try to find, stuff that doesn't spread a fucking illness and pass time doing that. Listening to music, for instance. If you guys haven't paid attention, you should pay attention, because there is a new album with Dark Tranquillity out. It came Friday, and I have only listened to it a little bit, but it sounds promising. But then again, I'm a big fan of Dark Tranquillity since forever. Roy, Lasse, it's good to see that some people have found their way here. But every time somebody likes the stream, I get a big sound in my headphones. So if you want to torture me, just hit that button. But I had prepared this presentation, so I had like the cover art and stuff of that album, but I can't show it because I am not on the same part of the computer, so I don't have access to it. But I'm quite happy about that. It sounds like a yet another pretty strong release by Dark Tranquillity. Anyone of you have heard it so far? Please let me know what you think about it. I think those guys are still keeping it. They're still passionate, and I find that to be really cool. That you can be doing music since '89 and you can still put out relevant albums. There are so many bands that are nowhere near that. I mean, you don't have to go to Metallica to find bands that, you know, lost their way or their passion or whatever. But Dr. Tranquility really keeps it up in a way that I think, for instance, to me, In Flames is nowhere near the band I liked these days. But Dr. Tranquility keeps developing their stuff, doing their thing. They never became this huge band like In Flames, for instance. And maybe that's why they're still hungry. I think sometimes success is the enemy of creativity. I think it's very, very hard to do relevant outsider music when you're in a bubble pool bathing in money. And I think that is what happened to Metallica and what happened to a lot of, you know, these bands. If you become too successful, it's hard to do that type of music. Because it's just, I guess, the underdog and we're gonna show the world aspect sort of dissolves when you're rolling in money and you have expensive, super expensive art on your walls. Maybe it's not so easy to do another Master of Puppets album. I don't know. Sylvia, Toxemia. Funny thing there. I actually wasn't aware of that band. It's a Swedish death metal band. And I think they were like active between 89 and 92. And then they sort of disappeared. But now they're back. And I have actually listened to them because I did play with them 2 years ago maybe. When they did their comeback gig in Motala in Sweden. So yeah. And I also know how extremely nervous they were when they were to return to the stage after all those years in the shadows. I do like it. It's pretty simplistic death metal, and I played with RIKET, so we supported them on this return gig that they did. And that was the first time actually I paid attention to them. And now they have an album out. I think it's out, and I've heard the music. I do not really like the videos they put out. They don't really cut it for me. But the music is actually quite good, especially the vocals, very extreme. And Julia, yeah, In Flames seems so lost. It's weird. Yeah, I think one of the reasons is that there are no founding members left in Flames. So basically, it's like a trademark, and it's like other guys. I mean, yeah, they've been in the band for a long time, but I also think they got hit by success, and playing outsiders music when you're a successful band that fills, you know, festival areas. I think it's hard. Let's see what Gökay says. If you don't count the days, then it will pass easily without smoking. Counting makes it difficult. Yeah. Yes. I mean, the reason why it's hard to smoke is that you made yourself addicted. I mean, it's actually, I mean, every time you smoke a cigarette and you're happy about it, it's because you were miserable before, because you're addicted. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't smoke or whatever. People should do whatever they want. And I smoked a lot. But quitting was easier. The thought of quitting was hard. I really was struggling with the finality of it. Can I never smoke again? So I decided to myself that I can certainly smoke whenever I want to, but I hope I don't want to, because I smoked so much. So I wasn't one of these happy people that, you know, can have 3 cigarettes at a party and then go home. I'm not that guy. I go up and I smoke 3 cigarettes and I have a cup of coffee and then my day starts. And that works when you're 25, but when you're my age, I'm now 45, I realized that, yeah, now it works, but how will this be in 20 years? Yeah. But I am never gonna pass judgment on people for whatever. I mean, we all have our past, and we all done a lot of different stuff. And some drink too much and need to stop. Some smoke too much and need to stop. And I mean, that's life. Another band that's putting out an album, and they have a song out now called Leviathans, and that's Tribulation. And I am a huge, or I wasn't, but I'm becoming more and more of a huge Tribulation fan. And I saw them live in Stockholm, and they are so fucking spectacular live also. Almost like they're dancing while playing pretty gritty, extremely, dark music. Phenomenal shit. And the singer has a voice to die for. So Tribulation Leviathans, really cool. Yet another cool track. Not their best, but really cool. I quit when I fell ill in Corona. Lungs are not having these toxins anymore. Corona times. Yeah, Julia, I agree. I think Corona is a good reason to not smoke, because lungs and respiratory aspects of your body will be needed if you get that shit. I still don't think I've had it. I was certain I had it in March, but I have no antibodies, so I might not have had it. But right now, I mean, it's not like I'm gonna miss out so many parties with a lot of smokers. So I thought, yeah, what the hell, life is already miserable. So, but yeah, it's a good time, I guess. But cheers to you guys for showing up and for writing stuff. It's a great pleasure actually to do this, because I feel we are a little clique of people who actually share some time together. So that's why I keep doing it. Speaking about Leviathan, there is another Swedish band releasing an album called Leviathans in early next year, and that's Therion. And they put out like a lyric video for Leviathan, and some of the recent lyric videos or videos entirely by Therion have been fucking awful. But this one, it's just meh, but it's passable. I love their music, but their visuals not so much. But this one, it was okay. And the song is really nice. I really liked it. It's like return to old form. I've seen Therion, I think in Wacken, many years ago, and that was extremely good. I really like their music. Simplistic, but there's something there. It's really cool. So now you have 3 stuff to check out. The new Dark Tranquility, the latest video, Leviathans, from the album which I can't remember the name of Tribulation, and Leviathan. There's a lot of Leviathan going on by Therion. All 3 quite worth checking up. Tribulation's new album will drop next year, early next year, same with Therion. For those that crave a little bit more extreme stuff, Kvän, Jakob Björnfot's band, will release a split single with one unreleased song from the sessions when he recorded The Funeral Pyre. That will be limited vinyl stuff, but I guess he might also put it up on YouTube eventually. I also know that Kvän, he's working with the next album, so should be coming out fairly soon. Since there's a very limited number of people here, I don't think there's anyone for Netherbird listening, is there? No? Well, they tend to keep very silent, as Spotify staff did, but actually one of the Spotify staffers was dropping by our home yesterday, so met her a little bit, and she was watching my Spotify talk. She was okay. Of course, Spotify might... Oh, fuck, Tobias is here. Then I can't say... Well, Hey Tobias. So there is one Netherbirdian person here being extremely bored, I guess. Well, fuck it. And here's that song. There is a Netherbird album coming also. There is no set date for it, but we have the title, we have all the lyrics. No, actually all the songs recorded. But that doesn't mean much. There will be a mixing process, mastering. The stuff should go to the record label, and it will take time. But it's the sixth album is recorded, and I am extremely pleased with it. It's darker, and well, I guess it sort of captures this time. But we are not talking about Corona on the album. I don't think anybody needs to be reminded about Corona. But I'm quite happy how it turned out. I don't know, Tobias, are you happy with it? Heidelvik, did you listen to did you listen? No, I haven't yet, Sylvia. I will. I definitely will. So please keep bombarding me with suggestions. I really enjoy getting these new stuff coming. Yeah, we are fairly quick when we start writing an album. So we write it, and then we work with it, and then we record it. So I mean, we're fairly quick at that. But it's always from the start of writing the first song until the album is out. That tends to be almost always more than a year. But we will see. I'm sure there will be one or two singles dropping before the entire album comes, and but the album is gonna have a one-word title, and I will talk more in depth about it a bit later on, not to piss off label and band stuff. Tobias got so angry. Tobias haven't heard a complete album yet, and neither have I. It's right now it's in the hands of the producer, and you always hope it will turn out great, but you never know. Yeah, I mean, for me it means I go to the studio. I'm fairly quick, so think I was in the studio like 6 evenings to do the vocal recordings, but you just hear your own voice there, and so it's always interesting afterwards to hear how the songs turn out. It'll be interesting. How do you choose artworks for upcoming albums? As a visual artist, I always hear about albums when they're already chosen the artwork. I think, I don't know, Julia. It's different for different people. We normally start thinking about the artwork already before we start recording. But this time around, we were so focused on getting the album to actually get the album going. But we had a dialogue with a French artist who will sort of fix finalize the artwork for it, but it's based on an existing piece. I think, I mean, we could definitely have a conversation about future Netherbird releases, because we should collaborate on something that is not, sometimes it would be fun to do the process from ID to finalized artwork together with an artist. Would be really cool. We have never done it like that. We should. But at the same time, it's also so damn difficult, because you never know exactly how the album will turn out. And but actually, I don't know how most bands do it. I think many have like an existing collaboration with someone who just, helps them with the artwork each time. I think it's so. I don't know exactly, But we need to talk about artworks, because I mean, we had a privilege of using one of your existing pieces, and I've seen the stuff that you paint recently, and it's really, really cool. So yeah, we need to talk. The producer, Lucy, it's Sverker Widgren, who is the vocalist also of Diabolical. He has a studio called Ving Studios. He's produced like Hyperion, Diabolical, Demonical, so many albums. I can't recall half of them. Like Sornheim. Yeah, oof. He has a huge wall of stuff. He produces a lot of, I'd say, Wormwood, the first 2 albums. So and we've been friends with him for a long time, and we recorded stuff there, but only parts of albums, and then we've handed it over to other people. But this time around, we felt that we wanted him to do it all the way. So we recorded drums and vocals there, and he has also been doing the guitar sounds and stuff. So this time around, he'll produce the entirety, and it'll be fun to see what he can do with it. Okay, so you know him. He's a great guy. It's worth mentioning that he's one of the best growlers, in my opinion, in the world. Which also makes it, you know, a mental challenge to stand in the vocal booth. This time around it's more screaming because it's Netherbird, but I've been doing death metal vocals, recording them at his place for a band called Sodomisery, the first EP they did. And you're actually working with someone who's so extremely good, so you feel quite humble. But he has nerves of steel and patience, because you need that as a producer, and he's really good to work with. I really like it, and we share a sense of humor also. So it's really sometimes, not always the case, but I really enjoy going to the studio to work with him. I don't enjoy studio normally, but with him it works pretty quickly. And also with Netherbird, when I recorded with Bismarck as producer, it also works well, and I feel quite at ease these days. But previously I was always very nervous and tense and shit when I went to the studio. Now it's a little bit better. Hey, Jacob. I was just telling people that Kvän has a split single coming up. All is good. I got your message also. I will answer you tomorrow or so regarding labels and stuff. Hyperion. Yes, okay. I also really like the Hyperion album, and Hyperion as a band, they're enormously creative, and I really like the multi-level stuff that they do, multi-layered stuff, I mean. So their albums just filled to the brim with all the stuff that I like, but Dissection, Early in Flames, there's so much, just a lot of sheer joy there. It's great. I also know that they've started work with their new album, and if you haven't watched it, I also did an interview with my friend of Hyperion, Eric, who's also been a session bassist for Netherbird. It's a small world, but when I see people that are really good at something, I tend to try to, you know, lure them into one of my projects sooner or later. But yeah, everything is good. How are you doing, Jacob? Are you okay? Lucy, excited. Yeah, I really also hope it will be a good album. It's our 6th album, and I'd say it's similar to Into the Vast Uncharted, but perhaps a little bit darker and a little bit less in your face, a little bit more intricate songs and stuff. But I'm happy with it, and it really grew on me when we were recording it, and that tends to be a good sign. But time will tell what you guys think about it. I'm looking forward to sharing it. So feel free to write a band that I should check out in the chat, because I will try to. Next time, could you please change name tag color into yellow so you can see their names alike? Yeah, I will try to. It seems like it picks the color at random, and then it stays with the same, and it's really bad when it's like green, so it sort of melts into it. Yeah. Oh yeah, eating ölkorv and having soothing beverage. Got banned from doing ads on blah blah blah. The Bursum phenomena. I got banned from Facebook for posting. It wasn't Bursum link. It was another band. I sort of knew it wasn't, the most politically correct band, but I just posted it in like in a closed group with friends. Just check these guys out. It looks insane. And then boom, I got banned from Facebook, and then they reopened my account, but I wasn't allowed to stream for 30 days, so I had to have an alternative account. So yeah, I understand why. No, I don't understand it. I mean, if you're gonna, look into which bands are, not, I don't know. There are so many bands that are not very politically correct, and of course, Bursum stands out because of, Varg. You love him or hate him, but everybody knows he's controversial as fuck and is making no secret. So I guess it is like it's so easy to pick Bursum and say that we don't want this on our platform. But there are so many other bands that eventually could have the same fate. So I don't know. I mean, I understand that they could sort of warn you when you post that we don't like this stuff, you shouldn't post this link. I get that, but you get to post it and you have no idea, because normally you pick it from YouTube, which is another global platform. So, and then you get banned, a week afterwards, or like in some cases 8 years afterwards. And then it's not just, you don't get, a slap on the fingers for posting that link. They also stop you from doing something else, whatever that is that you would like to do. Like in my case, streaming. And maybe I can understand streaming. Okay, we don't want this guy to do propaganda for Bursum. I could do that. I don't. But in your case, you're not allowed to buy ads because you've been a bad boy and you posted Bursum links 8 years ago. To me, that it's fairly weird. So they're basically stopping you from putting money in their company. I don't know. It's just, I understand that I mean, we have to, it's their rules. They can make up their rules and we have to play by it, or we have to leave. I think we should leave. I think Facebook is bad. I think it's bad for mankind, actually. But that's a bigger topic. I can talk about that for ages, because I think they are corrupting us with... they are just creating conflicts by an algorithm that makes us... see stuff. They make us react. That's what they want us to do, and whatever we react on, they will feed more into. So it makes makes people act crazy towards each other, and I think it's a little bit weird. I think also I think the worst case is that they don't tell you when you post stuff that's not allowed. They sort of let you know that afterwards, and I think that's weird, because normally you wouldn't even post it if you knew that it would make your account go to hell. So if they want, I realize it can be hard to make these blacklists, but banning accounts afterwards, to me it's just weird. But it's just a small part of a much bigger problem that is Facebook, and I think eventually YouTube and all these platforms, is that we hand over art into the hands of people who make judgment based on basically corporation policies rather than the law or whatever, and they will always change with whatever current situation we have in the world. So today it's Burzum. What's banned tomorrow? We don't know. It can be Netherbird if we are. At least we could be banned in China for making young people too critical towards society. I don't know. And then China doesn't want our music, and then it will be removed because they are a commercial company. They don't give a fuck about artistic freedom, really. But here I am streaming on their platform, complaining. So I'm sort of fucked because I need their. They made us all loving their platforms because they hand it out for free, but it comes with a price that we learn afterwards, and I think that price is going to be extremely high. And I also think it might make the culture that we are part of something that could disappear, because we put so much stuff up there only to one day they might go back and say, well, Netherbird is a controversial band and all their stuff should be gone, and all of a sudden we don't even exist anymore. While as if we kept spreading our stuff on other media that are not a commercial global company, our art could maybe thrive. So I think this is the biggest risk when we go from analog shit to digital, is that they could wipe away stuff just because times have changed, or we have a new regime in this country that no longer allows black metal, and all of a sudden all that stuff is banned, and all those fans are stuck in limbo on platforms where their art is no longer tolerated. And I think that is, as an artist and as a critical thinker, I think that's a big risk. Yeah, and like you said, Jane, this is true for the society we live in, is that we create new laws, and then we go back into history, and then we judge stuff regardless of context. So we go back into we change our rules, and then we ban stuff for things that someone did 20 years ago when it was still acceptable. And I think that is dangerous with the digital, especially these digital platforms, because there is no end to the history. They can go back and ban you for stuff you did when you were 15. And there is no legal system. You have no one really to object to, because this is not a country. These are not country laws or EU laws or whatever. This is a company, and they make the rules. And we have signed up on that when we, didn't read the fine print. So it's a slippery slope here, where it starts with this, but the question is, in the end, where the border will be drawn. I spoke with Sebastian Necrophobic, and he has a lot of thoughts, and he thought much more about this than I have. He really made me think. That conversation, I think, is worth watching. It's dangerous, I think, because we are susceptible in a way that art should maybe always be, at least in my opinion, it should push the envelope. But in general, big public companies are not so happy about pushing envelopes, and we can sometimes think that freedom of speech is here on Facebook, but it's not. They make up the rules, and that's just how it is. And so we might sacrifice a lot of freedom when we are there. Let's see. Satan got banned because they posted personal package for sale. They removed all their pages. I'm not surprised. I mean, Facebook really makes the rules, and I got my page or my account removed because they said I was a brand, not a person. Nephente, which is actually my legal name, but these days, but fuck that. And there's nothing you can do. Will there be another platform? Yeah, I think so. Every empire falls, and it tends to go quickly. The Roman Empire was the one that lasted the longest, I think. Other monopoly empires. But I don't know which platform could come, or if it should be a platform, or if it should be back to analog stuff. CDs, tapes. Back to the freedom of the old days. But then we sacrifice the reach. We don't get millions of potential listeners anymore. But maybe it's worth it, because I don't know if this price is worth it, really. And when your page is removed, and yeah, it's fun. It is a fascist way of dealing with stuff, which I guess is also what they are claiming that VARG is. So you fight with the same weapon as you're trying to sort of defend people from. Ironic. At the same time, it brings back BM to its roots, underground controversial music. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I don't think underground music should be acceptable on global platforms, because if it is, then we have sacrificed maybe everything that makes it interesting. Not necessarily that it needs to be political, but I mean, right now there are political views that are being censored, and I mean, I don't agree with those views. So I mean, that's easy to say. Well, but that's also the classic. First you take one liberty away, then you take the next, and at some point they will take something that I also desire. It could be, it's too much sexuality in this music, or it's too much occultism, or it's just too noisy, whatever. I mean, and I think the music we appreciate is maybe not made to be on the same platform as Metallica and Iron Maiden and generally quite mainstream music, because they are entirely different beasts. There will always be art that's not showcased in the big parlors, because it's art that wasn't tolerated at its time, or it was labeled too dangerous, it was destroyed or whatever. And I think if extreme music really does what it should, then I think maybe it shouldn't be on these platforms, because we are risking too much. But we do this. The reason is because I think everybody became a victim of potentially reaching millions of people and becoming a rock star. You can say a lot of things about Varg, but he never aspired to do that. Neither did Mayhem in those days, or neither did, I'd say, almost every band. To some it happened, but to many, I think these days it's too much about being, about likes or getting 1 million plays on Spotify. And if you don't get that, not only are you not successful, you feel miserable, even though you maybe reached 500 people who actually gave a fuck. And nobody thought in those terms 30 years ago. You were just, happy that someone listened to your music. But today you're sitting there and you're comparing your own Spotify rotation with, modern pop artists. And I think that's... it can also destroy the art, because you're starting to compare too much. And I think that goes also, I don't know, but I think being 15 when I was 15, that's fucking sucked. But I think it's even worse today when you have to, look fucking rich and beautiful and all of this, and everything just becomes, about success in a quantitative way that you can measure with, likes or streams or whatever. And I think whatever is successful is never gonna be new or avant-garde or breaking any borders or creating anything new. It will always be, the algorithms will always push more and more of what is already established as good or tolerable or desirable or whatever. So I think when we're all competing in that same arena, the risk is that we will maybe we should have clean vocals, because fuck yeah, Gojira, they got a lot of plays. I don't really know if we should. I don't like it so much. Yeah, but it would be really nice if we could double the number of streams or whatever. And I don't think that's how big the creative geniuses were wired, and they did it anyway. And I think that's how great art arises, because otherwise the next Google, I'm pretty sure, won't be done by people who only go to school and do as they're told. I think it's done by people who don't go to school and don't do as they're told, but sort of think differently. And I don't think the algorithms will ever favor that until you come over a certain level, maybe. But I think then it might be already too late. So instead you focus on stuff that works, a look that get you 1 million likes rather than trying something new. And if I see the photos on Instagram, I don't have Instagram anymore because my account got deleted. Good riddance. I never got it explained either. It was just gone one day, and I was like, okay. But I mean, everybody looks the same there. There are like 4 archetypes for how you can look, and that everybody goes for that. And is that where the next person will be, or the next dissection, whatever? I don't think it will come from that. Oh, I'm talking so much. Kind of like minimalism in the 90s. It was underground and a revolution towards the big bombastic music. Yeah. And I think maybe it's good that Facebook is pissing people off now, because I think it's been going on for too long already. If you guys haven't seen The Social Dilemma, you should see The Social Dilemma on Netflix, another huge platform. But I don't think everything is wrong with Facebook or YouTube or Spotify or whatever. I mean, they have a lot of good, but for certain art forms I don't think it's good, because it shouldn't be there in the first place. And I also think maybe then we don't have to frown so much over that, but they don't really understand the music. No, because it's so easy to find it these days. You can, you don't have to work to get into extreme gothic music or whatever you like. In the days of yore, you had to work to find that fucking tape copy of an album, and that made it so much more worth to you, and also it made you invest much more. Today it's a commodity. You can just do another search and you find another album. I had to work my ass off to find those albums, so I became very possessive of these albums and this music, and I really wanted everybody else to also work hard to show their dedication. I know it's a bit elitish and silly, but these days I think you can as easily find Napalm Death as Metallica, and I think that might harm Napalm Death and me as a sensitive person. Cheers. But this is something I need to think about. I mean, I'm just unloading. And I'm complaining about these platforms, but I'm using 3 of them right now: Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. So for this, it's great. But I'm not doing a very controversial stream, I hope. But I think the problem we are facing, and you just have to see the American presidential election, or what people are writing about COVID, how extremely polarized it is, and how little we actually communicate and how much we scream at each other. And the only people we actually communicate with are the ones that think the same as we do ourselves. I have that problem too. I'm not better than anyone else. So in my bubble, people are in a certain way, and other bubbles are completely different. So when I log into Facebook and my wife logs into Facebook, you see two completely different worlds. So instead of connecting the world, I think we're polarizing the world. And I think Facebook is a culprit there. And it's not run by algorithms. Algorithms, that's just a fancy word for, somebody paid a certain amount of money to get a certain amount of exposure. It's not neutral at all. And it can be politics, it could be whatever. Or it could be, that Burzum is bad. Whatever. But nothing happens without a reason. I don't think it's a great conspiracy. I think it's very simple. These are commercial companies, and they will always do what is commercially most successful to them. And Burzum fans are not a very important target group for them. We don't bring that much money, and it's not so many. So you can sacrifice that in order to favor something else, and they happily do that. But I think it's up to us if we are gonna play along. And I think we need somewhere else for artistic freedom. But I don't want that to be 4chan or some fucking sewer. I want it to be a good, like somebody mentioned MySpace. MySpace was different, but it failed. They didn't have because running these platforms is extremely expensive. So the question is, how can we do something that's smart but also sustainable and not so fucking expensive? I don't know. I don't have that answer. Deleted Facebook on my phone. I don't post blah 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 blah. I think I don't have the exact number, but I have an iPhone here. And on this one, I have a Facebook app, like most of you do. And it has X number of thousands of classes in it, that, operations that it does. And not so many of those I know what they are. So this does a lot of stuff that I'm not even aware of. Sometimes I think it listens to me, but it doesn't. I don't think, or maybe it does. It doesn't fucking matter, actually. But when I Google shit, I get ads for that. And I mean, that alone should tell us something, that, this might be a complication in the future. But I think we should be aware of what we are doing. But I don't want us to be, let's go into a cave and do nothing. The future is always forward, and technology can be good there. But I think for the music that I love, and I think most of you love, I'm not so sure it's not only a blessing, to say the least. In the times Elvis and Beatles were revolutionary, maybe after 50 years, but yeah, they were super controversial, and I think we wouldn't see Elvis if he was only looking at who was successful before him, because then he would do the same as they did rather than do something new. And this is, I think, what algorithms... If we live in a time and age where we want the same success as the person that was before us, then I think we will see less innovation when it comes to art. And that would suck. Sometimes I think it's better not to know how many people listen to your music, because then you can concentrate on doing great music for its own sake. I think most people do, still. But of course it affects you if you have 1,000 plays or 10,000 or 100,000 plays when you check on Spotify. Of course that will affect you. And of course it's hard not to wonder why this song has so much more popularity than this other song. And if you guys are into APIs, for instance, there is a REST API for Spotify where there is, actually, I'm not kidding, there is one of the data that you can pull out from a song is popularity index. They even, they're not even hiding it. There is a popularity index for a song where you can see, how popular is this song. And it's based on different things. How long ago it was released, how many listens to it, how many saves it, how many shares it, and so on. It all affects. But what you can say is that the snowballing is very important on Spotify, for instance. So if 10,000 people listening, even more people will be suggested. But if I put something out and only 10 people are listening, very few other people will be suggested to it. Rather than, you could hope that, undiscovered music, look what we got here, but that's not how it works. Some snowballs are become huge. Most fizzle out into nothingness. You get like 10 listeners, which sucks. But they might be the 10 people who will buy your album and actually give a fuck, rather than the 100,000 who heard your song but didn't like it and skipped it after 31 seconds. This became a very impromptu talk, because I was trying to get online and it didn't really work. But after like 25 minutes, I actually got online on these 3 platforms, and I'm quite happy I am online. But I will close the shop fairly soon. But from now on, I will do Mondays 20 to 21 Swedish time. I might do an event on Facebook, but I will only post that I will be online. Sometimes I will bring guests. Sometimes there will be me and Nine and Walter talking about topics, or it will be me and Jacob talking about the upcoming Kvän album or whatever. So sometimes it will be just me, sometimes with a guest, sometimes with 2 guests. And I think it's funny there, Jacob. You got confused. Almost 10k listeners per month. It is a great feeling, and this is what the platforms can give us. It's awesome when you get that. But the question is, if you do the next album and you go a different way, and then you get 3,000 monthly listeners, it will affect you, even though that you're still successful. And that is, sometimes I think it's better we didn't know exactly how many listen to our albums. But then again, I mean, I'm not surprised you got success. It's a fucking fantastic album, and you're a phenomenal musician. So, I mean, you deserve it. But sometimes you always feel, we're putting out an album sometime during next year. And if we get half of the listeners we had on this album, that'll make me not happy that I have all these thousands of listeners, but it will make me miserable that we lost something along the way. And I think that is not the best way to go forward with art. So sometimes I don't think we should have digits. Finding friends that share your taste somewhat and finding out what they like is a good way to discover new music. Do you know how about those that have bought your album? No, well, I know fairly well how many we sell. We don't sell so many albums. But sometimes I wish we had no Spotify listeners and only people that bought the album. And, I didn't have to see in real time exactly, Mondays is a bad day for Netherbird, or this song is so popular in Paraguay. Does it really matter? I want everybody to listen, but even if I had 10,000 listeners, I don't know if they like it. I mean, I only know that they listen, but they paid almost nothing to get it. They really don't. They're not fans. I don't know if they're fans. They would be fans if they stick around year after year, I guess. But I don't really know how people are perceiving it. But rather, if people buy the album, I would guess they are fans because they make an investment in my music. Thank you, Jacob. And actually, the album will kill. I'm quite happy about the album, but you never know. Spotify, if they put you on the playlist, you can get tens of thousands of listeners each day. If they don't, you don't get so many listeners. So I should be very careful with what I say about Spotify. But I actually, as I think you know, I do like Spotify because they give us something rather than nothing, which was how much we got paid before when it comes to digital music. All I'm saying is that Spotify is not enough to support bands. You need to buy their merch. You need to buy their CDs. Become a real fan, because Spotify, it's so anonymous, and also it doesn't pay so much, but it trickles down. So I mean, I think our biggest income is Spotify. If I look on the whole stuff, or maybe not, but at least they do pay fair amount of money. Future popularity should be counted success because it was built on. Yeah, persistency for sure. But it's I think it's very hard, and sometimes I just think that it would actually be almost better for me not to know exactly how many listens, and I can see the graphs day by day and country by country and stuff, and I don't think it's it's not good for me. I'm too much of a data nerd. But in any case, guys, thank you so much for being so damn talkative in the chat, and for actually finding this stream after, you know, my initial fuck up. And Jacob, we need to be online talking about your different musical ventures, because I'm curious. And I'll get back to you regarding your message also. I'll try to do that tomorrow. The rest of you guys, most of you have seen before, but not everyone. I'm quite happy that you made it. And next week at 8 o'clock, I will try to be a little bit more online as it was supposed to be. So then you shouldn't have to wait for 25 minutes before I get on there. So with that, I bid you guys farewell, and I urge you to keep distance, wash your hands, wear a mask if so is mandated, and take care and stay sensible, and don't share craziness on the internet. Share music. That's usually for the better. And I'll see you next week. Cheers.